Right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. How is your day going? It is pretty nice out, not extremely warm. We're 15°C, which is about 62 degrees. That's very pleasant. Went for a walk this morning. One of our local forest preserves. Nice trail. About a 40-minute walk. I need to do them a lot. I'm struggling really bad, but it was pretty nice out. I took some nice pictures, and I'm thinking, maybe I'll start doing some Patreon stuff. Maybe try to get some over to my Patreon and do some like private words, thoughts, get to know a little more about me. I don't know if you really want to know more about me, but being personal is always a bit better. Let me know. I did a different setup with the camera today, just playing around with some different stuff. And today I've been working on trying to get, I had noticed that on my Linux setup, because I had it when I brought it over from Windows. This is one thing I didn't check. I have a now playing message that goes just to Twitch, because the music you'll hear just on Twitch, and it's doubling up the messages. And I don't know if that has to do with how the Tuna player refreshes the because that's where I get it, the Tuna player plugin. That's where I get from my YouTube music. I use it's what is it called? The Pair. Actually, it's a community wrapped YouTube music player that has a bunch of plugins in it, and one of them is the Tuna player plugin, so it will connect to Tuna on your OBS, and it does it through MIPRIS, not VLC or that, but MIPRIS, and whether that is causing it to double up on the messages or not, I do not know, but we'll start playing some and we'll see how it works as I'm streaming. There, if you were on Twitch, you would see that one message. We'll see as it goes on. It's either been coming up, it either reads it really fast. So in the StreamerBot setup, using it like I'm doing a global variable setup. I'm calling it the last track sent. So if it like refreshes after so many seconds, if that refresh comes through again and it's the same track, it shouldn't trigger a second message. I'm not really good at setting those up, so I'm learning about it. I posted a message in the StreamerBot Discord on the Linux side, because it is, I'm using Linux on StreamerBot, or StreamerBot on Linux in the bottles. I don't seem to have that same problem over on the Windows side. And it also could be how StreamerBot is reading the files from Linux. So we shall see during the setup. So this is what I have set up. It's now playing a message, and I have I will get a global variable called last track, and then it will read lines. So it's triggered by the fire folder watcher for a change. So if it changes, it will change the name of the track and the artist. But wait a second, and we'll read the lines from that. And then here's my if-else statement. If line 0 equals last track sent, it should break and not do anything. Hello, Hans CCTV.
Steve, someone has joined the chat on Twitch. Novinha descendo na 4x4. Welcome to the mar. Cerveja gelada, piscina e churrasco. Welcome to the mar. O modão batendo no grave pesado.
There you go, Hans. You get Dancing Steve.
Welcome to the mar.
How you doing, Mr. Norway? All going good for you? How's the weather? So if it line zero, which is the lines from the text, matches the last track sent, it should not send the message. And if it is, and if it doesn't matches, then it should send a Twitch message. Again, this message just goes out to Twitch because I am not sending music to YouTube. Ah, yes, right. You plant the sunflowers. You doing well? Like my wife and I were talking. I said we need to put some more color around the place. We need to get some flowers. I am very surprised. Oh my God! Over 30 years ago,
Steve,
we had.
someone has joined the chat on Twitch.
Hey, JJ.
Welcome back. Certainly glad you could join us today.
How you doing, JJ? Weird. Hope you figure it out. Yeah, I do too. I not go with the if and statements and that. And then at the end of the track, it will set. That's where it sets the global track sent to line zero. So up in my global variables, if I type in last track sent, now playing Ocean Drive. So if a second trigger comes through, it should not trigger a second message. But see, now all of a sudden, and so that it then will just read line zero, and then it refreshes and adds the track, the now playing to the chat. I don't have to do this, but I think if you want to know what's been playing and you don't pay attention, because I don't leave the message up there for real long, and in certain scenes you don't see it at all. So we'll see if anybody responds to me on Twitch. I mean, on YouTube. Oh my gosh. And Streamer Bot, forget it. I'm done. I'm done. But anyway, Hans, yeah, I've 30 years ago or so when we moved into this house, one of my wife's aunts gave her a bag of tulip bulbs. And on and off over the years, that tulip bulb will all of a sudden grow. So I dug them up and I found about 7 bulbs and I replanted them and they all grew. The frickin' rabbits ate 2 of the flowers already. But they're nice. They're yellow tulips. Where can you block the individual messages? Well, that's what I'm... Not the individual. So... A lot of it has to do with, I think, how Tuna refreshes the tracks. And also, I have, like, if I go to my main scene here, then the music player up here, that's HTML. So it's got its own refresh rate in there. And I had it set up to where... because the album art wasn't refreshing right all the time. Shame you can't block anything that says like, that's the thing. I need it to go through the first time, but I need to block it the second time. So that's the idea of setting a global variable. So the variable name is last track sent, and the value is line 0. Now all of a sudden you see now line 0 is showing up in the chat, and then the correct title is showing up. The now playing. So if I play around with the delay. sometimes that keeps the line 0 from showing up, but then the title, the now playing will show up twice. And as I look back, this is a problem I had about a year and a half ago, to where I just stopped adding tracks onto Twitch for the message because of this. But I didn't really think about like doing like a if else statement. So hopefully some of those that know this better than me over on the Discord streamer bot will get back to me on that, so I can kind of fix that. Because if you look, a lot of streamers do it, and I don't want to have like extra messages come through on Twitch, because it will count as messages, and I don't want Twitch to say that I'm spamming the chat to increase engagement. That's not the idea of this. And I know it's been said that like the read lines, if you have this variable up here, it should be getting the variable, or if you have this trigger up here, it should be getting the variables from the trigger. But if I deactivate the read the lines, then it doesn't work, and you just see line 0. The percentage marks, and then line 0 in between. You'll see that twice. I was looking at maybe doing a C#, but I don't know enough about C# to kind of do that. Because sometimes with C# you can get a little more fine tuning, so to speak, in there. I might be able to I know at times that like HTML stuff can be worked into the C# code, but I don't know enough about that to do that. So that's what I was looking at today, trying to fix. Oh, but yeah, it's at least I don't think on my Windows setup that it does double like that. Because I know I don't have any if-else statements on there. I just have file watcher and it triggers. And file watcher itself, it's a little bit of when you build it, it's not very descriptive on what it you should put in there and that. And then also with the the 1.0, I think it was actually maybe the 1.2, Nate had changed the if else, it's split up now. If you go to add core logic, where are we? Logic. The break, get input, get random number, if else, switch, and while. That used to be all like built in together. See, now the line 0 disappeared, but it doubled up on the tracks. So the whole idea that I was thinking that, and maybe I don't catch it timing wise, maybe it goes too quick to be able to use this. And I know placement also has a lot to do I've tried it with the read lines first, and I tried it with a little bit of a delay. My tuna is set up. It refreshes. What did I set it at? 500 milliseconds. Yeah, so tuna is set up to refresh every 500 milliseconds. I've played around with this. I've lowered it. I've raised it. But see, now all of a sudden, it didn't refresh the album art because I changed that too in my HTML. Fix that. And this is where stuff becomes a pain in the ass with Linux. Because one, I mean, it's still experimental, even though that they've been doing this for a while and it's gotten better, and a lot of people do use this. EndeavourOS. I've had the same issue on Pop OS with X11 2204 back in the day. So it's not just Endeavor. It's an issue in Linux. Okay, let me refresh. Music player this way. So I know there's a way. I don't think I saved it. My friend Adam had built for me a Node.js setup to where it didn't need StreamerBot, but everything was triggered through the WebSocket server in OBS.
Steve, someone has joined the chat on YouTube.
Welcome. Hey, yeah.
Hey, anytime, can I know what's happening here? Well, welcome, Payne. Aptly named for this stream. It's a lot of pain to watch. So I am on a Linux setup for OBS StreamerBot, StreamerBots and bottles, and I'm trying to get a single message. If you look at the chat, well, you're on YouTube, so you might not see this message because I don't send music to YouTube because of copyright issues. Whereas Twitch, you can play music. It just won't be in the VOD later on, so you won't hear music later on. But even as I use copyright-free music that is allowable on YouTube, I don't get a copyright strike, but I get a copyright notice. And if I was monetized on YouTube, I wouldn't get any money that way. So yes, the creator has authorized it to be used on YouTube, but by rights, but if you are monetized, any money that you earn during that stream may go to that creator. It's not counted as a copyright strike, but I get a lot of those anytime I play even royalty free, copyright free music. Um, like this whole list I'm playing right now on Twitch that Twitch is hearing is Twitch related music, and even once in a while on Twitch, if I didn't have the VOD set up, Twitch would block out the song, which they would just block out audio, which includes me talking during that strict. Oh no, this isn't a service. So this is part of. Do you stream? Do you know about StreamerBot? StreamerBot is a open source, not open source. It is a free program to use to help with your streaming, and it's Windows only, but you can get it to work on Linux. Now, do you use Windows or do you use Linux? It does work in Linux and Wine, or if you use the Bottles install, and I'm doing the Bottles install right now, which will help run Windows programs. You're on Windows, so you wouldn't have the problems that I would be having. But yeah, I have both a Windows and a Linux setup, but I have to do things differently on Linux than I do on Windows. And that's the big thing. I've been a Linux user for about 10 years now, and I streamed for about 7-8 years on Linux, about Linux. And then I just changed my streaming format and started streaming on Twitch and decided I didn't want to do a lot of that type of straight up Linux content. And I went to Windows. So I had been streaming on Windows. I stream on Windows a couple of days a week. Just a totally different setup. Everything works on Windows the way it's supposed to because it's designed for Windows, like StreamerBot. Over in Linux, there's a lot of workarounds. And I started getting back into it because I see a lot of streamers, would-be streamers or wannabe streamers or streamers that are fed up with Windows and are looking to Linux to stream. And I follow the Linux, the OBS Linux forum in Discord daily. Even in Windows, I just see people not knowing what they're doing. So this is where they can come up and, I'm not a gamer, so I don't stream and record games. So I can't help that, but I can stream. I stream pretty well off my Linux platform. I've been doing it for years, and I get more knowledgeable in that. But I'm not knowledgeable about every distribution in Linux and all that. So I can get someone basically going, and I could tell you what you should or shouldn't use, or I wouldn't tell you. I would suggest, strongly suggest something in that. So that's what this is all about today. I call it Tux Tuesday. Tux Tuesday, we're on Tux is for Linux. I didn't play Steam. No, I was playing Wii U. I was playing a Wii U through a capture card, but because of my hand and I don't have the ability to really hold a controller, I don't feel the buttons, especially with my thumb. So I don't do the console setup. Plus, there's a lot of like the capture card sometimes works on Linux, and it's supposed to be Linux compatible. Yeah, I used a HDMI to USB capture card. But the problem is, too, a lot of people don't have the computers, the laptops. A lot of them are streaming off their laptop, and they don't have a strong enough laptop to do gaming, recording, and streaming all at the same time. And they can't figure out why they can't. Was I a gamer back in the day? Not really. If you can see here in the background, that's our little game station. So my son has the original Switch and a Switch 2. And then below that, I have the Wii U. And then below that, I have a couple of those old Nintendo, Sega little consoles that have all the games in them. I would play those. I've never been a big gamer. My game of choice right now is on Thursdays. I do geoguessing. I really like that because I don't have to hold a control. But I know a big part of a lot of streamers is about gaming. But it's just having the right equipment, and Linux is such a different beast. It works generally well for most. If you know what you're kind of doing, it is a bit of a learning curve from Windows. But you can have a real nice looking, system and not have all the bullshit that people complain about Windows, especially about Windows 11. Now, I don't use Windows daily like say my son does. My son has a nice HP Omen laptop, but he's on my Linux setup because this is what my setup looks like in that, I got my computer here and I got a 25-inch monitor, a 17-inch monitor, a 27-inch monitor. I use another laptop to monitor the stream and that's connected through something called DeskFlow, so I could just use my mouse in that. I use my old Samsung S8 as my camera. And then I have a 920s on both sides. I didn't set up the other one today yet. But getting things to work right, let's see, do I have it where I can find it? I have a lot of shit here is what I have. I want to knock my coffee over. I have, where did I put you? Yeah, I got it in somewhere. But it's HDMI. Oh, I better change so Cody can do the fart. Did you do the fart already, Cody? Up. Let me run it again for you. And the way I would set it up is it would be a slight delay, not for me, but maybe for the stream. That wasn't too bad. I don't get particular. I don't record my stuff because it goes to YouTube, and it gets saved there. But a lot of stream, especially new. Oh, I want to stream in 4K. I want to record in 4K. Well, what kind of laptop do you have? Well, a 1080. There's a lot to think about coming over to Linux. How you doing, Mr. Cody? And not bad for an old guy, huh? I've been in computers I'm self-taught. I've been in computers for a while. Doing well, about to head out from work. Slacker. But every day, every year, I learn more and more about streaming. I'm not super quick, but I try to. Oh, you'll be learning some points. Hold on, I'll run it for you. You earn points as you watch for watching. But there's a lot of cool stuff. I used to do like Linux content, and I like using Linux, but I don't like doing content anymore. You're welcome. except about this. I know it bores a lot of most Linux users because they can't. The problem with most Linux users is they have old computers and they can't run what I can run. And I don't have a super good computer, but it's a good computer. I just got myself a NVIDIA 4060. So now the background remover doesn't work on Linux, which sucks. So I have to use a plugin that here I'll run it. It doesn't look as good, but it doesn't use as much resource as the other one does. But on Windows, the background remover works really well. So if I can, so I learned, I have so many. These are all actions. This is what StreamerBot looks like. And each category, I have actions that I created. I have actions that I downloaded from other streamers or those that use StreamerBot. I can use, well, you can use it on Windows too, but I have a different voice activation setup. Computer, main view.
Here is the main view boss.
So I can do voice control. I had to build this one. Windows comes with voice control, and that's what StreamerBot uses. And then it also uses what is called SpeakerBot, which uses the Windows system. Linux doesn't have that. So I got lucky. I found a TTS system that I can use to replace it. See, it's if you're on Twitch, you're seeing double messages on the now playing. And so I think there's it. I'm not sure how I'm going to be able to fix that. So, Payne, what are things that you like? I mean, are you into computers? I think you said you didn't stream. You thinking about it? You follow other streamers? What kind of things do you like? I just like learning. I like learning this stuff. I'm retired after 42 years in retail, and I'm going to be 70 this year. I'm getting old. Something that I keep myself, my thought process going and learning things. Started learning about coding this late in life. And yes, I do use AI to help me. I vibe code. I should do some vibe coding. We can develop some stuff together. But the people, they either hate the AI or they love it. I use it as a tool. It's a tool. So with StreamerBot, I have to learn C#.
Join the chat on YouTube.
Oh, hello there.
Ross Huber, you are one of the haters. I don't. I mean, it's a fine line right now with AI. The thing with it is, like, if you, like with me, say, using it, it gives an idea, but I do have to know if it's bullshitting me or not. and I catch it all. I even between ChatGPT, Perplexity. I've used ChatGPT, Perplexity, and Gemini. Gemini has been about the best, but even with Gemini, it'll give me stuff and I'll say, hey, I'm on Linux. This is different. Oh, yes. And all of a sudden, like, yes, I know that, and then you got to be able to kind of, I'm not good at writing code. But like with HTML and CSS and that, I can take things and look at it and know where I can change things to kind of make it my own. You can definitely see its usefulness is just super annoying with hardware prices and it's being used for so much stuff. Totally useless. I totally agree. I don't like the fact that companies are using it to save money. I don't like how it's treating human, and not the AI itself, but how corporations, of course, the billionaires who want more billions. You love that Sora got shut down. Sora was the image one. Soon there will be no jobs. Be like Star Trek, right? We'll have all this AI and then we should be able to spend our lives just learning and all that fun stuff. But yeah, there is a fine-edged sword. I was listening to one of the many tech podcasts I listened to, and they were talking about how they were talking to some coder, and the coder says, now I can, instead of having to do all the code myself, I can have AI start doing the code and I can be more productive in developing something and faster. I mean, in one way or another, someone is using AI to help themselves. Now, whether they're helping themselves, that take away from others or what, I don't make any money off of this. I can't pay people to do this stuff. I have to either learn it myself, rely on those that like to contribute. Majority of the stuff that I get for StreamerBot comes from people that, are contributing. You add a few dollars to them every chance that you get, or you become a follower or a subscriber on their stream. You do what you can, or you help out. So it helps me. I still have to learn some of this stuff because it's not that I don't trust it. It's because I'm using the free version that I know I'm only going to get to a certain point. Now, if I was doing the paid versions on some of these and upping the level that I'm at, I probably wouldn't have to worry about a lot of coding. But not every aspect of my stream, is about that. It's a fine line.
Steve,
it is.
Someone has joined the chat on Twitch.
Donnie! Hello, England! What's up, Mr. Donnie? How you doing? Evening legend. Gonna give me a big head. Doing well. Beautiful day out today. It started out very cloudy. Rain. We had some good storms yesterday. every storm that comes through now is like, is our house going to be here? We just hear the siding vibrate, and the wind has been, the number of years the wind has really been increasing. But yeah, we're at 15C or like 60 something Fahrenheit. I went for a nice walk. Here, let me show you. Let's see if it's my stuff uploaded. Here we go. Computer, right monitor. Computer, right monitor. There we go. So I went for a
Here's
walk
the right
at
monitor, boss.
one of our local forest preserves. Nice little lake. This is actually on a back end. These mountains in the back distance, it's not a mountain. That's actually a landfill. It's long closed, and it really doesn't smell in the area. When I first moved in here 30-something years ago, it did. So a nice little, like, a lot of wildlife, nice trails. Thinking of doing some walk, like videos, and adding them to Patreon. Maybe I can try to get, hey, here's my thoughts. Yeah, some of these are. This was nice. I mean, it's not a deep area or anything like that, but it's a nice walk. So yeah, so this nice little hill back here, that's a landfill. People fish there. Yeah, there's fishing. I saw a couple guys with their fishing rods. A lot of birds, so a lot of bird watchers. Oh, and then I had a treat today. I don't know what it was all about, but there was some young lady there in a long legs and a miniskirt taking pictures in the forest preserve. Probably for her Instagram. So yeah, I was bird watching. So this is with my Samsung S8. No, my Pixel 8, not my S8. This is with my Pixel 8 Pro. It takes some pretty good pictures. No, in our forest preserves here, in our state and county forest preserves, there's no hunting. You have to go to federal lands, or private lands to do some hunting, but there's no hunting here at all. You may see a deer or two. You'll see coyotes. Once in a while, you'll see a wolf. We are not far from a somewhat major river system, the Fox River, which feeds into the Illinois, I think, which then feeds into the Mississippi. I've been fishing. I haven't fished in years. My brother has always been an avid fisherman. The last time I was fishing was up in Wisconsin. I don't know how many years ago, and we went up for a weekend with two of my buddies. And it was throw the rod in the water. Well, not throw the rod in the water, throw the line in the water, and a 6-pack of beer off the side because the water was cold. And then I would sit back in the front of the boat. And then he brought his BB gun, and we were shooting our empty beer cans. That's the last time I was fishing. That was like, God, 30-something years ago. Hunting? No, I've never been hunting. Not my thing. If I had to, I probably would. So yeah, so those are some of the pictures I took today. I look for stuff that might be good wallpaper that would be easy to kind of enhance. But yeah, the S8 does pretty good. And there's no reason to move up to why do I keep calling it S8? The Pixel 8 Pro. There's no reason to move up to a 10 because the camera is still about the same. But the Pixel does pretty good, and it's got pretty good if you want to remove something. Like I've taken pictures of my son at his karate tournaments and that, and he's going through one of his katas, and there happens to be someone like a little bit behind him, and you just kind of like take the S8, the Pixel 8, and just kind of color it in, and does a pretty good job of removing it. What it doesn't catch good is like if like on a shiny hardwood floor where a kind of shadow would be, it doesn't really remove that. But it does a real good job by you just kind of color it in, and which is really and I know there's some software out there that you can use. I use GIMP, and there's Gimmick plugin that goes with it, and it has a pretty decent background remover. But you got to put dots around. Red dots are where you don't want it. Green dots where you want to keep. And of course, on a computer monitor, it's always
Steve,
easier.
Someone has joined the chat on YouTube.
Welcome to my life.
Well, welcome, Vamsy2311. Welcome to the stream. How are you today? How's YouTube doing? And what brings you here today? Interested in Linux? Talking a little bit. I'm streaming on a Linux setup today. My day is going good. How is yours? Next week will be a trial. I have a impacted wisdom, so that never really grew, and it grew into the side of my jaw. That has to be removed. So that's set up for next Monday. You hear me because of Linux. Okay. What do you use? So I've been a Linux. I've been a Linux loser. A real Linux loser, a Linux user for over 10 years. I don't know if I would have ever gotten into Linux. My wife works at our local library, and they were upgrading. They had these old Asus netbooks that they would give to the customer. Jaw removal surgery? No. So the tooth is growing into the side of my jaw. So, and it's starting to, I can feel it. It's not infected in that, but I can start feeling it. It's going to leave a hole. I'm going to have a graft done and all that. So I might not be streaming at all much next week because I won't be able to talk. You're planning to install Arch Linux. Is that your first Linux distro, or you first coming over? Well, thank you, Vamsy. Linux is better than Windows in your modest opinion? In a lot of stuff it is. You don't have to worry about a lot of the crap that goes along with Windows, but if there's certain Windows programs that you use, you're not going to be able to, you're going to have to find some difference. But if you are an average user, like my wife gets on and she watches videos, she listens to podcasts, she does emails, Zoom calls, boom. First time Linux, yeah, you need customization, and Windows is breaking a PC every day. What makes you want to go to Arch? Big curve there.
Steve, someone has joined the chat on YouTube.
Welcome to my stream.
Mild discomfort. Hi, Gramps. That's a nice way to come into the stream. I was on a couple of Ubuntu-based systems for a number of years. And as Hans says, Arch is not a beginner's distro, but I am now on an Arch-based system. I am on EndeavourOS. You are a CS student, so planning to learn more about Linux? We're doing good, Mild. Thanks for stopping by. But even all the years, like the 10 years I've been in Linux, and I've gone back and forth, I will not install Arch the Arch way. I don't care to learn Arch. I don't think that you really learn Arch. You clear, installing it the Arch way, you learn all about Arch. All you're doing is copying and pasting commands in most cases, or typing out commands. You have no idea what those commands are doing. So I'm on EndeavourOS, which has it's a vanilla Arch install, but it is a bit customized. And there's a good team behind it, so it's well supported. That's if you want to really start out, I would recommend that. You're going to hear about CachyOS. That's been the big thing lately, but that's like aimed at a lot of gamers, or Bazite. I would suggest, you look in a couple of good starts. A good couple of standbys are Linux Mint, Zorin OS, because they're Ubuntu based. They're more supported. They're still easily customizable. The only way, I mean, you'd have to. It depends on how deep you want to get into Linux. In one instance, I'm an average user I want to be able to get on and be able to do stuff like this. So OBS and using StreamerBot and learning how that works in Linux and that. I don't want to constantly have to build or update a system. But after a number of years, I decided that, I needed a little bit more, and Endeavor relatively makes it easy. I've been using Endeavor for about 2 years now. But if you want to install Arch the Arch way, you go to the Arch wiki and you kind of learn it.
Chat on YouTube.
Oh, hello there.
Hello, Cyberwolf. Welcome. You're a Windows user and you've been determined to try Linux, but I've been having one teensy-weensy problem. And discovers that he started Ubuntu at first because he needed a Linux-only app, and he learned it. All right, if you're dropping out, thanks for stopping by. Take care. But there are a lot of forums out there, a lot of help. Although, even though these days I'll look up something and it brings up like stuff from 10 years ago. Yes, Arch is not for beginners. Cyberwolf, he says, gaming compatibility. Some games work, some don't, and it's mainly because apparently Anti-Cheat hates Linux, and so does Roblox. Yeah, you have to, I know on Windows, Roblox, you have to use game capture or different capture and all that. I don't do a lot of gaming, so I don't often worry about that. But if you're a big gamer and you're looking to stream games and that, there's a lot of caveats that will go with that. And you're right, anti-cheat, from what I understand, it's gotten better. And then there are some, there's at least two big games out there that will never be Linux compatible because they have said that they don't, I can't, since I'm not a gamer, I don't remember. I actually just heard about it 2 days ago. That they will never support Linux. So I am on a system called EndeavourOS. It's Arch based. The installer is really easy. You don't have to do much to it, get it installed, but it does kind of bring up a vanilla Linux Arch install. What I mean by vanilla is it doesn't have a lot of stuff in it. Endeavor puts a nice updater and some packages in there, but it's up to you to install a lot of other things, which is fine. If you think about Windows in the day, it didn't come with a lot of stuff and you had to install it. So Fortnite and Apex Legends said they'll never support Linux, yeah. But Steam has really helped gamers come along to Linux. So I guess it's what you're used to. I mean, some frame rates and things like that may not be where you want them to be, but I know some people that, oh my God, I have to have the best looking game when I'm playing, and others are just like, I just want to play the game. Everything else is really good about it. The environments, the animations, the performance, the freedom, et cetera, et cetera. It's just like one problem that's holding me back. Yeah. If there's a couple of specific games that you really like. But there's nothing to say, about dual booting and just having Windows for those two games or whatever that you really like, and then play everything else on Linux while you're learning Linux. I go back and forth. I stream a couple days a week on my Linux setup, and then I stream a couple days a week on my Windows setup. They are different in some things that I have to do. My goal this time was to get as close to a Linux setup that I have on Windows, and I've almost accomplished that. There are some things that are a bit missing, but with StreamerBot and SpeakerBot on Windows, I have a native because it uses Windows voice control. I had to build voice control into Linux, which is not hard to do. But I've done more stuff with coding and Python and all that I have never done before. So I have a voice listener script. So now as I'm talking, if I want to go computer, right monitor, or if I talk too fast, it won't listen to me. Computer, right monitor. Computer, right monitor. There we go.
Here is the right monitor, boss.
And I have it reply to me when I speak it. Computer, left monitor.
Here is the left monitor, boss.
And that's all doing, it's called VOSK, V-O-S-K. Relatively easy build, but I've never done anything. And then I have a script running that picks up OBS CMD, OBS commands. Con says most offline games work fine on Linux, yes. And then Cyberwolfie says, I do have a 2011 laptop that runs Windows 7 right now. I tried Linux there, but even XFCE has some performance issues despite having amazing specs for 2011. Yeah, so computer, left camera. So this is an HP. This one is what? My 8460? Or no, this is my 8440. Yes, 8440. I have EndeavourOS on that. It's I think this laptop is from 2013. I want to say 2014. Not a real one. I did upgrade. It had 4 gigs of memory. I updated it to the Max 8, and it's running XFCE on it. Yeah, Linux won't save every old PC, but I also have another older running EndeavourOS XFCE, and it runs a slideshow. And in our family room, I have it running all the family pictures that I'll upload to it. Computer main view.
Here is the main view bus.
And the laptop is a 64-bit. Yeah, there are some. There's some. What brand is it? I mean, there's some brands that never worked well. I've always heard, people tell me, "Oh, I can't use an HP because they suck with Linux." My brother-in-law gave me about 6 laptops. 2 of them finally got busted. Dell Latitude, okay. But I've never, maybe 1 or 2 distros might be a problem depending on how they start up. Chrome OS Flex might save it. Yeah, Chrome OS Flex is nice. I wanted my wife, I thought the way my wife uses a computer, a Chromebook or something like Chrome OS Flex would be perfect for her. And it just works and picks up everything. It is Linux the way Linux should be. Apparently, it's, Chrome is a kind of a version of Gentoo, but they just work. You tried Ubuntu, Linux Mint, maybe Fedora. Fedora, because I know a lot of people like Fedora. I don't like that you have to really go through and install a lot of you have to install a lot of proprietary software that doesn't come with it and looks nice. A suggestion, a Debian-based MX Linux. A lot of people rave about MX Linux. If you don't mind, it doesn't have systemd, and it's Debian-based. But the developer is in the Linux community, and he is let's see, Run with the Dolphin is his name. He's a pretty good guy. Definitely you stay away from anything that's small or one man. I will never go with a one-man distro again. Never. I was on a version of when Peppermint OS was Ubuntu based, and the developer Mark Graves was around before he passed away. And I just loved Peppermint. It just worked. It was like a Frankenstein distribution, and it just worked. And then he passed away and didn't really have a lot of stuff saved where people could get to it. So now the new Peppermint is totally different. It's Debian based, very lightweight, you have to install pretty much everything with it, but it works on a lot of stuff. But it depends on how much you want to do, with your Linux distro. A lot of decisions, it's not just easy. But I got into Linux. My wife, I started saying, my wife brought home an Asus 1001 HE or something like that. Had XP on it, which had run out. Windows 7 wasn't going to work on it. Windows 7 at that time ran out too. And she's like, is there anything we could do with this? I had my tablet at the time, but I'm like, that would be nice to have a little computer downstairs. And I started looking at, Linux, and that's how I got into it. Found a huge community. On your gaming PC, on the other hand, there are some that did work, but some that wouldn't even boot from USB, like Zorin. Zorin, as nice as it is, Zorin still uses one of the older Ubuntu installers. On my system, I kind of built this. It's got an Asus motherboard and that in there. It's what was it? My 550. I have NVIDIA 4060 in here. 16 gigs of memory. No, 32 gigs of memory. 32 gigs of memory. And I couldn't get Zorin to install on it. No, I didn't say
That reminds
story
me of the time I
time.
fought a dragon, but I'm sure your story about lunch is better.
It's been not picking up things right lately. Computer main view.
Here's the main view boss.
But Zorin I had problems with. I'm like, screw this. That installer that wants to do file, it's just, there's better installers these days. I was a big fan of Pop OS. After Peppermint and it went down, I started using Peppermint. Oh, I see, I'm a GNOME guy. I love GNOME. XFCE is too old for me, even for me. I'll use it where I have to. KDE, too many settings. But I just have this nice relationship with GNOME. I don't use vanilla GNOME. I do use extensions, but I don't have a problem with that. But never would I thought I would have 4 computers in my house with Arch. But Pop OS was a big one for me. Pop OS, again, was one of those from System 76 that just seemed to work. You keep an eye on laptops. What do you think of Apple MacBook M5? I want to get it, but it's a bit expensive. I have a couple of friends that have the well, he had the M1 and M3, and they have nothing but good things to say about it. Especially battery life is unreal. My buddy said he would take his M3 to work without his charger. He would have it fully charged the night before, take it to work, do his personal stuff on there, and he'd get home and it would barely be halfway down in battery life. I've never used a Mac. I don't like Apple phones, but I don't think I would have a problem with a Mac. They're all switching over to Wayland eventually. There'll be some distros out there that will still run X11 because there'll be haters out there. But like I started talking about Pop, and then Pop was a customized GNOME distribution, which is like Zorin. Zorin's a customized GNOME distribution. They just make sure that the extensions work the way they want it to work. But then Pop with the Pop Cosmic, I like the desktop. It's not ready yet. And it was screwing up with the OBS and all that. I'm like, I'm done right now. Give it a few more years as they work on it. I think it will be a pretty good desktop. If I were to try and install MX Linux on my laptop and it starts lagging all of a sudden, do you have any advice? The specs are good enough, So it shouldn't be my laptop being the issue here. Guess what? It depends on what, lagging. Is it, the software or stuff like that? There's a couple of versions. I mean, there's the MX Linux that has XFCE is the main one. Then they have a KDE version. And then they have a AHS for more modern laptops with the hardware enablement in it. How old is the thermal paste on the laptop? Have you taken, because those laptops usually are pretty easy to take apart. Have you cleaned them out? I mean, I remember when my brother-in-law, he gave me he was in like a computer side business and he got out of it. And he gave me a dozen computers. And I fixed up and gave away to some people on that, but I kept a few. And he goes, "This one's really nice, but it really runs hot." And here he is, a computer guy. I took it apart. There was dog hair clogging the fan. Okay, so you would assume that the thermal paste is still pretty fresh in that. Okay. But I guess it depends on what you think about lagging in that. You keep them clean, you keep them blown out. You talk about like, does it take forever for like software to start up or run? But once you get into Linux and you get things running, boy, it just. There you go, SSD or HD. Yeah. So the distros with you hate distros with animations. It depends on the animations. I mean, most laptops, I think, even older ones, benefit from an SSD, but not all of them can really use an SSD properly. Let's see. You said you had a. Well, like the real fancy open close and all that. It could be, graphics card. Um, I'm sorry. Can you tell me what laptop you had again? Did you say it was a Dell or it was a I want to look at maybe the specs. Not that I really know, but I think the GPU is NVIDIA 5200. Dell Latitude, okay. 2011. Well, here it says the Dell Latitude E640 6430 is a durable 14-inch business laptop from 2012 and recognizes for its robust magnesium alloy chassis. Here you go. Here. I mean, decent specs, but it could be the driver too. So I don't think that the newer NVIDIA driver would support this. So the Dell Latitude with the 5200M runs Linux well, particularly for performance, but requires... Yes, I do have a Discord. Let's see. All right, where's my... There's an invite to my Discord. Give me 1 second here. Gonna reply to my son. I'm gonna have to get off shortly. Yeah, it says so. It says a Dell Latitude 6430 with the NVIDIA NVS 5200 runs well Linux, particularly for performance, but requires proper setup for the proprietary NVIDIA drivers to manage hybrid graphics effectively. Using modern Linux distributions like Ubuntu or Debian with Bumblebee or NVIDIA Prime is recommended. Don't know what's sure there. So here is what there's a link to the page that I'm reading right now. I've never had to deal with a lot of this stuff. But I know like my HP 8440 has an old NVIDIA 350 in there that I have to make that won't run any NVIDIA drivers, any of the new ones. So pretty much have to run the Nouveau drivers. And I've never dealt with a hybrid graphics. So that could be the issue, one of the issues that you might be having. And this actually goes back to the old 1304 Ubuntu, but that's what happens when you look up stuff on for Linux. So that's could be it. You're basically missing the NVIDIA driver because they're not being installed with the Linux setup. So that could be one of the issues there. So I know there are a lot of people that use hybrid graphics in that. I have not had to deal with that. I know, say, like there's a graphics driver in my AMD 5600S chip, but I wouldn't consider that like hybrid graphics in that because it always runs. I've always had a NVIDIA card in here. I used to have I had a 1080, then I had a 1660, and now I have a 4060. So, yeah, take a look at that and see if that helps you, and let me know. That'd be cool. There are some tricky things out there. Says definitely those hybrid graphics are a pain on Linux. But and whatever distro you install, look for their forums and that, and reach out. And usually, if it's an Ubuntu base, you can kind of go with what Ubuntu like setups are. You might not be able to do the same thing if you were on like a Fedora or a Debian or that. And that's why I won't use Debian. I know it's stable and all that stuff, but Debian is even if you add the SID repository in that, it's just too old to me. It's nice, I guess, if you have a server, but there's that but. But these are some of the things that when people come over from Windows, they're all fed up with Windows. And I totally hate what they did with the Windows 11 and not be able to upgrade and from Windows 10. They did that on purpose. That's what makes Windows Windows and makes it suck. But too many people, are just jumping to Linux without really kind of getting their feet wet first, and they want to. They're because there's plenty of people in our community that will. Oh, this worked great for me, and they forget how long it took them to get it to work great for them, and so recommend it. The thing is, you don't want to leave Windows 7. It's an amazing OS. Yeah. I did that before I got into Linux. I dual booted Windows 7 and Windows 10. But because of that, even though I had them on separate SSDs or hard drives at the time, Windows 10 would always grab Windows 7 restoration points and screw it up. Because there were some things that there was a specific program that I had from Windows 7 that wasn't going to work on Windows 10 because it didn't particularly deal with the DRM, but it was a program called Tune Bytes. I love this program. And especially I had a before the days of graphics cards and being as good as they are, when computer users like myself got into sound cards, and I had a Sound Blaster, I forget the model number and all that, but it had like 23 recording slots in it. So, and I subscribed to my music platform of the choice was at the time Rhapsody, and you were able to download the music to Windows to play offline. And because it was in the Windows, it actually downloaded in the Windows Media format, and Rhapsody left it, where you were able to play it. So what Tune Bytes would do is it wouldn't break the DRM. It wasn't anything like that. It would just re-record that track. So using Tune Bytes, it would re-record. Like I would download an album, and it would re-record the album, and it would only take as long as the longest song. And you could also set it up to record 2 times, but that would mess up a lot. So I would just let it run. Wasn't breaking the DRM. It was just re-recording it in an MP3 format, or you can do a WAV format or things like that. So Tune Bytes wasn't going to work on Windows 10, so I kept Windows 7 as long as I could. You can make Kubuntu look like Windows 7. Yeah, I mean, looks. So you get, oh yeah, Windows users, they need this because it will look like Windows. Doesn't act like Windows. Doesn't act like Windows. And I'm of the belief, as long as it's relatively familiar, people have no hard. When you got your first phone or when you got your first tablet, did you know those operating systems? Did you know Android or iPhone? It's pretty intuitive in a way. I think everybody in Linux thinks Windows users are stupid and they remember the problems that they had. It's not an easy step over, but it could be okay. Once you get in there, once you get things working, I probably never would fully go back to Windows. Like I said, I use Windows to stream because of all the cool things I can get to work on it, all the VSTs and sound stuff and things to work without having to do workarounds. Now that I'm doing more workarounds again, I don't want to have to worry about redoing my system or keeping up with my system. People will say that being on an Arch-based system, I'm going to lead into problems. But I've had problems in other, distributions and that were touted as being good and stable. So shit happens. It happens on Windows. It happens on Linux. It's sometimes different and it's sometimes the same. Bluetooth sucks whether it's Windows or Linux. You started using Linux back in 2021, and the first I tried was Linux Mint. Linux Mint is okay. I don't like Cinnamon, but, and even into the XFCE, I don't like XFCE. But Linux Mint is a good starting distro because it just, as the saying goes, it just works. And most people coming over from Windows can be used to it in a matter of time, and that, how you save things, how you download things, that's all different. The software that you can use is going to be different. All the alternatives are not all the same or equal to what the pros versions out there. Once you get past all that, it's great. Like I said, my wife, I have her on an Arch-based system, but I'm home. So if she needs help, I help her. Is that the browser? Okay. Is this where I save my files? Okay. Is this where I bring up Zoom? Okay. Is this how I get my podcast? Okay. Is this where I watch YouTube? Okay. Boom. She's good to go. She's happy. But Bluetooth will mess up because I have her, so she can listen to her podcast. Bluetooth is connected to our TV soundbar. Because she doesn't want me to buy her. I gave her one of my older, she broke one of mine. That I gave her one of the relatively newer ones. A lightweight in that, an HP 9470. And she dropped it, broke the screen. I'm not gonna. I think $40 it cost for a new screen, but I don't think it was worth repairing. So I gave her another HP that's more heavier duty, but battery life sucks on it. In most cases, battery life sucks on Linux. I plan to get her. I plan to get her a new piece, laptop this year, a nicer one that is lightweight and can work with her, whether it's Windows or not. I tried to get her on a Chromebook. Did not want to sign into another. I don't want to sign into nothing else anymore. So the conclusion is, I want to like Linux here. Let me highlight this. So the conclusion is, I want to like Linux, but at the same time, I just can't use it on my gaming PC until it becomes 100% compatible with online gaming, because gaming is what this beast is made for. You use what you want to use. And like I said, can always keep that laptop for gaming, or if you have another computer, and you just use it. I will never judge you. Use what you use. Too many in our Linux community judge, right, Hans? They just judge. Oh, you're on Windows? Oh, I'm sorry. But if you want to learn a little bit more about Linux too, you can join. There's on Saturdays, 7 p.m. Central U.S. There's a show called The Linux Saloon that's on most Saturdays. And that's a group of people that I kind of grew up with Linux with. You'll get a lot of Linux snobs in there, but there's also a lot of helpful people, very helpful people there. So you can check that out. My Windows 7 laptop can run Linux. I'll have to try to install the GPU driver, but it'll probably take time. So I know when you like something, right? When you like something. Well, unfortunately with that, I am going to have to leave for the day. My son's been waiting for me to pick him up. So a little bit about me. I stream about this time on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Thursdays I do GeoGuessr. So if you like traveling the world and guessing where the hell I am, we joined GeoGuessr. We added some nice little animations to it. So when people help me, we do a cheer. Wednesdays, this time, mostly later in the evening, I'm U.S. Central. And you might see me on about 6:30 in the evening U.S. Central time. And then Sundays I stream. So I stream Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays. And Sundays, 8:30 in the morning U.S. Central. And we just bullshit. It's called the Coffee Clutch. And we just sit back, relax, and talk about what went on during the week. So, Cyberwolf, I hope best of luck to you. Oh yeah. I might not be able to stream. We'll see. Either my jaw will be all puffed out. I'm not looking forward to that because the tooth is growing into my jaw, into my jawbone, and I can feel it. It's starting to push out. My It's not swollen here, but I can feel it. It's not sore, but it will lead to problems. So I got to have that done. So Sunday might be my last stream for a while, so come by and say hi. With that, computer, it's time to say goodbye.
Thank you all
All
for
right,
stopping
a
by.
lot of people joined today. Thank you. I really appreciate that. So, I gotta change how this rolls. Hans CCT, JJBB, Payne, Cody Lamer, Ross Huber, Donnie, Bamzy, Mild Discomfort, Cyberwolf. Thanks for joining me today. I appreciate it. All right, yes, leave me a message on Discord. I'll reply to your message that you sent when I get a chance here and accept you. Best of luck. Let me know how you do. Again, I will be streaming tomorrow, whether it will be this time tomorrow afternoon or in the evening. I have 2 time slots there. It depends on what's going on. Thursday, again, will be GeoGuessr. And Sunday will be the Coffee Clutch. So it's nice meeting you, Cyber Wolfie. Take care!